Hey guys, it's Evan the Cat King here with another video, and today we are doing what we did with All Stars, but with Disventure Camp 4 Carnival of Chaos. I don't know why I said it that way. We're doing a my way for Disventure Camp Carnival of Chaos. Jeez, what? Okay. Um, yeah, we did an all. The last video I did was an All Stars my way. Why not just do the most recent season my way right off the bat here? May not be done yet, but it's gone far enough where like I can confidently say I think this is how I would be my preferred way. So let's just honestly. So with that being said, let's just jump straight into it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. But either way, let's jump into it. 18th place, honestly, this time it might not change quite that much. I don't know. I don't know if my All Stars one changed crazy amount. I don't know. I think it changed quite a bit. But right here, I'm saying this because literally the first boot is the exact same. Alessio, I think he's just. The first boot is always gonna be, or the first boot in a season is likely to stay low unless it's actively like a returning season. Like where it's like, oh, the same cast again, like total drama with like action or world tour. Like it's likely to stay the case. We don't know enough about Alessio for him not to be the first boot here, I think. I think he was made to be the first boot and he should be the first boot. Then we go into 17th place. We're going to stick with Amelie here. Amelie is a favorite character of mine, but I think that her going out second, it was just a good thing, and especially with her return. But yeah, the we will be like doing very much like the same type of stuff. There'll be like the swap between of characters as well as like two characters in the teams as well as the like two returnees. The but either way, next in 16th place, the third person out. This is might be the most drastic change in that Natalia is going out here. Now, as much as I do like Natalia as like with her like I mean her random like she's got good like one-liners, but in all reality I think that she's not that great of a character in terms of like the story. Sure, she had her whole moment of going up against Anastasia and stuff, but ultimately I think it's just time. I just don't think that she needed to get as far as she did. And honestly, I think she could have very well been a just fine third boot. I don't think that she really contributes enough to that where she's necessarily needed. 15th, we're sticking with Diego. I think that the Diego, honestly, the Diego kind of like, it was kind of like a plot twist. Because, like, everybody going into this, I think, expected, like, they were so, like, setting it up so that Diego and Spencer were going to be, like, the main couple of the season alongside, like, Anastasia and Marissa. It felt like that was just gonna be the case, but then for them to have Spencer get Diego out was honestly brilliant, and honestly, it was such a like shock at the time, and now it's like looking back on it, it's like oh my god, this was like such a good choice, and I think it was such a good choice that I think I'm keeping it the same. Another great choice I think in elimination was actually Tristan. As much as I like Tristan, another character, there are certain characters that I just think they I really like them for where they ended up placing. Like Tristan, I really like Tristan, and as much as I would like to maybe see Tristan go a bit further, I think that it just also makes sense to get rid of Tristan where we got rid of them, and I think it just makes sense. I guess I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I think it was a good spot to eliminate them. They're not someone who needs to go very far in order to be a good character, I'd say. I guess, I don't know. 13th place. Oh wait, now before we do that, we have to do the swap, and it's gonna be the same. Isabel and Spencer. That's gonna be the swap. Spencer gets voted out after they pull the stuff to get rid of Tristan. And stuff. There's gonna be certain things that are very similar here, like Isabel and Jade's like little alliance that started from them taking like the idol and the idol clue. Now for 13th place, it's gonna another exact same one in Marissa. Spencer jumping over to the blue team just sets up a whole majority thing. They already had the majority once Talia was voted out, but now all of a sudden Linda, Ted, and them, they had such a just strong majority there, and they just take out Marissa, leaving Anastasia basically on her own against most of them. 12th place, this is where we had the like whole thing where Linda got voted out, but then she was going to compete with the next person voted out. And that's where, and then, so in this case, the person that gets voted out next is going to be Ivy. Jade and Isabel are going to manage to get Hannah and Benji to swap up and vote out Ivy. And then, but of course she has the chance to return, where people say, like, oh, that's what's gonna happen, but blah blah blah. Blue team loses the challenge this time. They don't believe what anybody's saying. They vote out Anastasia because, well, she's just in the minority. She goes up against Ivy, and then we have a very similar situation where Ivy ends up getting Linda on her team, and Anastasia gets Spencer, and then Spencer ultimately ends up helping Anastasia winning the challenge, and Anastasia stays. I feel like it wouldn't hit as hard as the Anastasia getting people to vote her out just so she can make sure that Linda doesn't return. As much as I loved that, as good as that was, and I was very tempted to keep that this way, but I think that having it's a similar situation where, but now it's like Linda's trying to do everything in her power to take out Anastasia, and she has all the numbers, she has everything going against Anastasia, but Anastasia manages to fight through it and survive. And then that that specific thing causes people to decide, hey, they don't like Linda as much, and Anastasia really proved that they like her a lot more now after everything she just did. She gets Spencer on her side after, thanks to the challenge, she gets him to agree to vote with them alongside Logan and Richard. Richard and Linda had issues, and they end up taking out Ted here instead of going after Linda. But they go for Ted in this situation. But it might seem weird, but I just think Linda should go a bit further than Ted. Anyways, now we get to the merge. Now, of course, there will be the returners, but at the moment, we don't. No, we don't have. We won't be focusing on them. We will get to them. But next up, 10th place. It's funny. One of the things I was thinking of when I first originally was like thinking about this before I like actually started making the order was, I was one person that, like, there were certain people that's like, oh, I think they could have gone sooner. And one was Benji, and I was thinking, I'm going to end up getting Benji out sooner. And then he ended up getting the exact same placement. Or a very similar placement. And so Benji is out next. I literally planned on, like, getting Benji out similar, like, sooner, and then ended up getting him in the exact same spot. Another thing also I was thinking about doing was just straight up making this like a whole My Way video, and then just doing the exact same elimination order, and just say, oh, this would be my way because they did this season is perfect. But as much as this season is genuinely really good, it's like best season of Disventure Camp without a no hands down. But I still think I just certain things that I think I would have preferred. Of course, this is all my opinion and stuff, you know. But yeah, next up we have Zayd going out. Zayd gets. Oh wait, no, right, I'm wrong. Crap. Next we have Linda going out. Linda goes out just before the returnee challenge, and that's when we do get to have the return challenge. Linda gets taken down by Anastasia and stuff, yeah, all that stuff. But yeah, now the two returners, there's one that's the exact same, and that's Amelie. I think Amelie, she just was perfect returnee here. And the other is a bit different. I'm not, as much as I do like the extra Marissa and Anastasia stuff, I don't think Marissa necessarily needed to return. Those two, they had a good story already. They didn't necessarily need to continue that. Meanwhile, now I think Ivy is the one that I would bring back. Ivy, her character didn't feel entirely complete, so I think it makes sense to bring her back. If it feels like she may have had some development, like, off screen, and then by the time, like, we get the return challenge, her character arc was finished, but now instead she comes in and she's also looking for revenge. She wants to take out people like Hannah and Jade, who she sees as having turned on her, and like Anastasia for beating her in the one-on-one and stuff. You know, there's a bunch of that kind of stuff. But yeah, Amelie and Ivy return. Then we get to the now official 10th place, and it's like a big setup with a 5-on-5. It's kind of the girls' alliance versus guy, like taking it in a way. But Ivy's gonna be team guys because of Zayd. But ultimately, Logan does the Logan flips on stuff, and not necessarily flips because he's not. They just want to vote out Anastasia, but he decides he's not gonna vote for Anastasia. He votes someone else, like Amelie or something, I don't know. And then that results in Richard going home. I really like Richard, but he is not someone who needs to make it super far. Similar to Tristan. But I like him getting the distance that he does, and I think that he can make it a bit further than Tristan. I don't know. Next up, 9th place. The legitimate 9th place. With this, now all of a sudden, they have these three kind of become a weird trio, because, like, as much as Zayd and Ivy don't really want to do it, they feel Ivy, like, convinces Zayd, yeah, they kind of need to work with Spencer because she doesn't want to work with, like, Hannah or Jade or Anastasia, so she's trying to, as much as she doesn't like Spencer, she she wants to try and do something with him. But now they're on the outs. Spencer, I think, probably gets immunity here or something, and Zayd ends up going. Now in 8th place, this will be where Amelie goes again. Amelie, I think, I'm really happy she got to return, and I'm also extra happy that she actually did make it as far as she did. But in, like, this situation, I think that I don't know if she necessarily needs to make it all the way to final 6, is it, that she made it to? Yeah, but, I think getting the few extra episodes is pretty good, and I think she can go out here pretty fine. Now, the next 2 eliminations have a whole thing to them. Isabel has the idol going into this boot, but in the time, she ends up getting Spencer ends up pulling a bit of a Rhea and ends up stealing it from Isabel. I think that ultimately leaves Isabel open and gets her eliminated. Isabel is a very... I thought, like, I kind of knew where her character was going, but at the moment, her character in the season has kind of just, like... It's like, what are we doing all of a sudden? It's like, now she's, like, just, like, trying to convince herself that she's not wicked and stuff, and it's like... Is this really what we're doing for the final stuff, and, like, when there's down to this few people? So I think maybe sending her out a bit sooner... Not having her be such a, like, I don't know, like, as far. But allowing her to, like, let Jade open up a bit before she goes would be great. But now that sets up this challenge, this elimination, and I have this whole idea for this elimination. Now, Jade has the steal a vote advantage. She still has that in this. Spencer now has the idol. Jade manages to kind of come to the idea that he might have it, and then ultimately it kind of becomes a showdown between Jade and Spencer. Now Jade assumes that he has the idol. She's not 100% sure, but she assumes that he does. So she sets up a bit of a blindside where she does her best to convince all of the remainder of people to vote for Spencer. And then it gets just Spencer to, and then when it comes down to the elimination, she steals Spencer's vote, and then that gets Spencer to use the idol. Everybody here is gonna vote for Spencer. He sets it up so that him and Ivy can vote out Jade. Ivy's still just kind of wanting a bit of revenge, but she's probably grown a bit. I don't know. Maybe she forgives Hannah, and that's her, like, redemption or whatever. Not necessarily redemption, but, like, I don't know. And then, but because Jade expects Spencer to have the idol and to use it, she steals his vote and puts both of her votes on Ivy, allowing it so that if Spencer doesn't have an idol, then these three's vote would get him out. But if he does have the idol and uses it, she still takes out Ivy. And in that case, Ivy goes home here. I just imagine that being like a big like thing, a big play that Jade can do that can be like a really fun strategy moment, because she's really only talked about strategy up to... I mean, she has done strategy moments, but she's talked more about strategy than actually doing a lot of strategy. So having her get like a big play like that, I think would be awesome. And then with that outcome, 5th place ends up being Spencer. They end up just banding together and they end up taking him down this time. We move on to 4th place, and Anastasia has been like kind of like a main character type thing. And ultimately, I think that she goes 4th. I feel like one thing is, like, I mean, well, Total Drama does do, like, the main character, honestly, kind of winning a lot of the times. Like, or at least making it to the finale, like, in Island, I consider, like, Gwen as the main character. Heather's kind of the main character in Season 3. There's that kind of stuff, but I just think Anastasia getting out just before the finale, like kind of final 3 finale type situation would be just perfect distance for her. I don't really think Anastasia should win the season. And ultimately, I see it as a situation where Jade ends up kind of causing these 3 eliminations here, and I expect Jade to ultimately lose in 3rd place here, because she gets a bit overconfident, and then Hannah and Logan end up teaming up to make sure, because we now know that this like whole jury business is going to decide who gets like 3rd place and who moves on to the final 2. So we know that, so I think that they work together to make sure that Jade doesn't win that challenge, the final 3 challenge, and then she ends up losing in the end because she burnt a few too many bridges in the final jury, resulting in her going out here. And then when it comes down to the final 2, I just think that Hannah should come out on top. I think Logan and Hannah would be a really fun final 2. And I think Hannah ultimately winning, I think, is out of those 2 makes sense. I just don't think Logan... I don't see, like, certain thing is, I don't see, with certain characters, it's like, I don't see Logan needing the money. Same with Anastasia. That's why I don't really think that she should win. She's a model. I don't think she needs the money. Logan, he's like an Olympic athlete. Does he need the money? No. Like, meanwhile, Hannah seems like she actually could use the money. So I think That's one thing that I don't like about Rhea's ending is like, I mean, Rhea winning is because like she tries so hard to win 3 million, and based on like we hear that she won like an Emmy in the beginning of the season. Does she like how is she not like she probably already has a lot of money. Does she really need just 3 million more for no reason? Like that just doesn't make sense to me now. And then so yeah, I just think that the winner should always have for the most part, need the money more. Like honestly, at this point, like James at Disventure Camp probably could do a bit better with like how that goes. Is like does the character that wins ultimately need the money? I feel like that's a bit the only case where I think there's an argument of a character needing the money is Miriam. Like James is a TikTok star. I'm sure he has plenty of money. Rhea was again. I already talked about her, but Miriam, as like she's old, so you could argue like, oh, she probably doesn't necessarily need the money, but at the same time, she's not like rich, and also she ends up helping out Jake anyways, so that also gives her a need for the money, so or a use for the money, and I think that's nice. So yeah, that's why I pick Hannah over Logan. So, yeah, there we go. That is Disventure Camp Carnival of Chaos my way. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'm trying to give YouTube another just like full-blown go at it. I've been very inconsistent. I'm gonna be trying to be as consistent as I can now for the foreseeable future, but yeah, I hope you. But either way, I'll hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.